All right, so you hear all the time about these transitions in government, right? And like, yeah, of course there are going to be changes. You expect that. But then you see like claims of problems, maybe even like disruptions at the NNSA.
National Nuclear Safety Administration.
Yeah, exactly. The NNSA, which, they're the ones safeguarding America's nuclear stockpile.
That's
Gonna make you think twice, right?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, that's some serious stuff we're talking about here.
For sure. And so that's why we're doing this deep dive today. We're looking at this situation. Well, it's all described in this YouTube video, a transcript, actually. It's from the Ring of Fire. And they're the ones saying that after the new administration came in, things at the NNSA got a bit, well, chaotic, is I guess one way to put it.
Yeah. And I mean, they're not exactly known for pulling punches.
Exactly. So what we're trying to do today is, really get into what exactly this video is claiming happened at the NNSA, like right after those new folks came in. Were there really all these personnel changes? And like, what does that even tell us about how these transitions are supposed to work,
Right. And I think it's crucial to say right off the bat.
Yeah.
We're not here to say whether we agree or disagree with this video.
Not at all.
We're just examining what they're saying,
Yeah.
What's the narrative? What are their main points about this whole transition thing?
Exactly.
So maybe we should start with what they say happened first at the NNSA. What's the big claim they make?
Okay, so they're saying that on a Thursday night, all of a sudden, all these NNSA employees started getting termination notices, like a lot of them. And they're claiming this just kept going, through the weekend.
Wow.
And they call it a mass purge.
I mean, that's a pretty loaded term.
Yeah, for sure. And, we got to remember what the NNSA actually does. They're the ones making sure our nuclear weapons are safe and secure. It's a massive responsibility. This isn't your average government department. There's no room for mistakes.
Absolutely. It's high stakes all the way. I mean, historically, yeah, new administrations come in, they want to bring in their own people, it happens. But if this is accurate, the sheer scale of it, the way they're describing it, that would be pretty unusual, especially for such a sensitive agency. You'd think there'd be some really carefully thought out procedures to make sure things keep running smoothly, during a transition like that.
Absolutely.
So what does the video say happened next after all these notices went out?
Well, they're saying that on Friday, like literally the day after, there was this like realization, almost like an oh crap moment.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That they actually still needed these people, to protect the nuclear arsenal. They're basically saying there was a total disconnect between the decision to fire all these people and, well, actually understanding who was doing what, who was keeping things safe.
That's really interesting. It almost suggests that whoever was making these decisions didn't really grasp what these folks at the NNSA actually do on a day-to-day basis. And the video says this led to a pretty big communication breakdown, too.
Oh, yeah. They describe it as this whole mess. So apparently these employees, they'd already been locked out of their government email accounts and they turned in their government phones.
Standard procedure, I guess.
Right. So, when the administration supposedly realized they needed these people back, they couldn't even get a hold of them. It's like, how do you even fix that?
Yeah, that sounds like a logistical nightmare.
Totally. And the video doesn't just stop there. It actually gets into why they think these firings happened in the first place. Mm-hmm. And they describe this interview process. I'm using air quotes here.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So they're saying this mass purge, as they call it, was all orchestrated by Trump and Elon Musk.
Well, hold on. They're really throwing those names out there.
Oh, yeah. They even claim that, get this, Elon Musk's incel squad, or DOGE teenagers, were somehow involved.
All right, that's a bit out there.
I know, right? But anyway, they go on to describe these interviews. So they were short, like really short, less than 15 minutes. Some people are quoted as saying it was closer to 10 minutes. And the people conducting these interviews, they're described as like inexperienced computer programmers. Some of them allegedly hadn't even finished college.
Seriously?
Yeah. And remember, they're interviewing these career civil servants. These people have been working at the NNSA for like 20, 30 years, dealing with nuclear safety and all that.
It just seems like a real mismatch. Like, how are you going to evaluate someone with that kind of experience in such a specialized field in just 10 minutes?
And get this, the video claims these programmers were asking questions like, what do you even do here? And does it even matter? Do we need you? It's almost like that scene from Office Space, with the consultants, the Bobs.
Oh, yeah. What would you say y'all do here?
Exactly. It's like they're trying to portray this whole thing as totally clueless. Like these interviewers had no idea what they were doing.
Yeah, I see what they're going for. They're trying to make it seem like the people making these decisions had zero real-world experience, while the people they were interviewing and supposedly firing we're the ones with all the knowledge.
Exactly. And they make this point that, these firings happened without anyone even considering how important these jobs actually are. They're saying government workers, especially at the NNSA, they're not just filling some random positions. They're crucial. They keep things running.
That's a really important point. It speaks to this whole debate about how we view public service, know. Are government jobs valuable? Are they necessary? The video obviously leans towards yes, especially when it comes to something as vital as the NNSA.
Totally. And they take this even further. They're basically saying that Trump's appointees and this whole new administration by extension just don't get how government works.
Interesting.
They even bring up Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as an example. Apparently, he said he wanted to fire like a third of HHS employees even before he was confirmed for anything. They're using this as proof that these people just don't understand what they're doing.
That's a pretty bold claim.
Oh, yeah. And they don't shy away from giving their opinion. They call them stupid and morons. They're really laying into them.
Whoa. It's clear they have strong feelings about this.
Yeah, no kidding. And they go on to list a whole bunch of people as examples of this so-called incompetence. They mention Trump, Elon Musk again, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. again, Tulsi Gabbard, Marco Rubio, Linda McMahon, Kash Patel, Pete Hegseth, J.D. Vance. Like, it's a pretty long list.
That is quite the lineup. So they're basically lumping all these people together and saying they're not fit to be in charge of, well, anything.
Pretty much.
All right. So what's the big takeaway? What's their final warning about these folks being in positions of power?
Their closing message is pretty intense. They say that nobody should be able to sleep at night knowing that these people, and they use some pretty colorful language to describe their intelligence, are running the country. It's basically a big flashing red warning sign like, be afraid, be very afraid.
Okay, so let's sum up the main claims from the Ring of Fire, right? They're alleging that the NNSA had this mass firing, then realized they messed up because they still needed those people.
Right.
But then they couldn't even contact them to fix it because they'd already cut off their access.
Yeah.
And they claim these firings came after these super short interviews conducted by people who didn't really know what they were doing, and that all of it was part of some politically motivated purge.
And, whether or not we believe everything they're saying, it does make you think about how these transitions work in these really important parts of the government, like the NNSA. What if even some of what they're saying is true? Doesn't that mean there are some serious weaknesses in how we handle these changes? Making sure there's a smooth handover and that the new people actually understand how things work.
Yeah, this whole deep dive, just looking at this one video, it really shows how fragile things can be during these times. It makes you wonder about the impact this could have, not just on national security, but on the government's ability to function in general.
Absolutely. So here's something for everyone listening to ponder. How does bringing in new leadership really affect these highly specialized agencies like the NNSA?
Yeah.
I mean, these are the folks dealing with nuclear weapons. You can't just press pause. What needs to be in place to make sure things don't fall apart during these transitions? What kind of safeguards do we need? What kind of protocols? These are questions that really matter, especially when we're talking about something as critical as national security.
They really do.
So yeah, lots to think about.
Absolutely.
And that's it for today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.